Welcome to Male Reality Lessons, where topics are reviewed and discussed as iron sharpens iron. Greetings. On today's episode, we're going to explore why men have, in today's society, slowly checked out of marriage, looking for more peaceful environments, as well as a simpler lifestyle. The chief cause in the U.S., not only because of feminism, but the inflation, cost of living is astronomical, and stress levels are very high just because of all the things that are happening in the country today. Hence, the explosion of the passport movement. And if you don't believe me, here is some film footage that gives you detailed information to that very fact.
Say you get a new job and you have a little bit of a pay bump. Suddenly there's a little more room in your budget. Maybe you do some small upgrades, like you eat out rather than cook at home, or buy those Taylor Swift tickets, or upgrade your music subscriptions. Anything like that is an example of lifestyle creep. It's just these little upgrades that are very hard to undo financially or even psychologically once you've made them.
A lot of people have this scarcity mindset around money, and they spend so much of their lives saving. And so there can be this point where if you're constantly saving your whole life and then you finally reach this marker of financial success, or you finally reach this big paycheck number, you feel like you finally deserve to enjoy your life.
The idea that people save and they just hit a point where they feel like they deserve it, I fully disagree with that. Most people don't have $1,000 in the bank. Like, most people cannot handle a tire blowout, or they're gonna put it on credit. There's no financial literacy, no financial education that happens. The average person does not think about lifestyle inflation at all. I think it's something that's not even on the average person's radar.
Coming out of the pandemic, there was this strong desire to go out and splurge on experiences, maybe take a trip. This is often referred to as revenge spending or revenge travel. Research shows that young adults are particularly susceptible to this. They feel discouraged by higher prices and, making ends meet. So they might feel like they'll never have enough money to retire anyway. They might as well enjoy themselves now. Unlike perhaps their parents were, young adults need to be more responsible for their retirement because a lot of the safety nets that maybe their parents had, like a pension, no longer exist or are extremely rare. So they need to contribute to their own 401k if they want to shore up their financial security.
There's something about spending a little more than we should that can feel like rebellious or bad. And it often can be a reaction to our family culture around money, or parentified or internalized rules around what we can give ourselves. And some people might overspend as like revenge against these rules, and some might look at someone who's overspending and think and kind of label them as all bad or all good. And there can be a lot of guilt and anxiety around the consequences. Spending is a way for us to meet one need when another isn't met.
I was 19 years old when I entered my first corporate job. I was still figuring out how to adult as well as how to be in this, corporate world, making income, which for sure led to overspending. I was sad, so I would shop. I was getting serotonin through shopping. Then that led to me accumulating over $30,000 of credit card debt. And I had to figure out how the heck I was going to pay that off.
When your spending is dictated by emotions, or depriving yourself, or holding back your needs, that's when it becomes problematic.
The most essential expenses for Americans. The median monthly rent in the US is $2,029 as of June 2023. That amount already accounts for over 46% of the Americans' median pre-tax income. But most US agencies classify spending more than 30% of one's gross monthly income on rent as being rent burdened. Meanwhile, the median mortgage payment for a 2,400 square foot house was $1,957 per month. However, a common rule of thumb advises spending 28% or less of your pre-tax income on mortgage payments. For the median gross monthly earnings, that translates to just $1,232.
As we talk to households and talk to consumers out in the real world, especially those, say, under 40, housing is the big issue. Rent, mortgage. It is the biggest concern that people aren't going to be able to make the next payment.
Inflation is really hurting individuals having stability in their housing. And I think sometimes we underestimate that if you have uncertainty in your housing, it causes uncertainty everywhere.
Housing is also the reason why cities have become more difficult to afford. Americans said it would require more than $1 million in net worth to be financially comfortable in places like San Francisco, New York, and Southern California.
This is why we've seen some migration or mobility around the country where some people say, I'm living in a high-cost state like California or New York. We really want to sort of pack up and go to an area that's less expensive. And one of the ironies of that is those places that were cheaper before are now becoming more expensive.
Americans spend on average $690.75 on food every month, according to the latest data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That amount is significantly higher than any of USDA's estimated grocery bills, including more generous and liberal food plans. Add the out-of-pocket health expenditures that cost the average Americans $96.42 every month, and you get a total expense of $2,816.17 for renters, and $2,744.17 for homeowners. That amount already accounts for 85% of the median take-home pay for average American renters, and over 82% for an average homeowner. This is excluding other essential expenses like transportation, childcare, and debt payments.
Many Americans are really struggling with just the increase of costs of living and food and housing. Utility bills have gone up. Car insurance has gone up. Homeowners insurance has gone up. And how can they pay for them but also meet other goals that they have to?
Budgeting experts advise Americans to spend just 50% of their net income on essentials, 30% on wants, and 20% on savings or paying off debt.
We see that allocation shifting significantly where people are spending 75% of their take home just on needs, which leaves very little for wants and very little for saving for your financial future. So depending upon where you live and of course your income, many Americans really cannot meet that target allocation.
So much of managing your financial life in America today is like drinking from a fire hose. I think many households are not able to show up and impose a framework of their own design onto their finances. Many are still in this reactionary space where they're just trying to figure out how to make ends meet.
I want to close the video out with the following statement. I believe that the current climate with the pending election does not have a foreseeable change with the rising prices and everything in our current economy. Men typically are cost-benefit calculators. They tend to be able to adjust. They tighten their bootstraps, downsize, or whatever. And in many cases, since the decline of the family, which used to be able to offset some of these ebbs and flows in the current economy, they typically leave men to seek other alternatives. Hence the passport bro movement, which is not necessarily just about women, but is also about finding a more suitable lifestyle and a more economical friendly country or economy. But I want to hear from you in the comment section. Tell me how you feel about the current state of affairs in the U.S. Today, how hard or difficult you're having just trying to make ends meet, and is actually breaking down the feminist barrier and coming back to the table to be able to partner with a man and manage your finances in a more suitable fashion where you're less stressed. And I hate to say it, the 50-50 terminology is no longer an insult. Finally, I want to thank you for watching. Please subscribe to Male Reality Lessons. And as always, have a good day.